Hi everyone, welcome to my first video in a year. So I don't think anybody needed a reminder of this meme from 2006, but I've lost control of my life, so let's do it. Courtesy of Know Your Meme, Groverhaus, sometimes referred to as Groverhaus, refers to the construction of a DIY home edition by Something Awful forum user Grover. The account of Groverhaus's process, detailed on Something Awful, grew in infamy on the message board with people mocking the attempt, the house's designs, and the finished product. Let's go back about 2 months. Sometime in January, Frank and I were listening to the Well There's Your Problem episode on Groverhaus. And for those who don't know Well There's Your Problem, I definitely recommend them, by the way. So while they were detailing the trials and tribulations of this cursed attempt at building, I discovered that amongst the wreckage of MS Paint formatted plans, there were also actual floor plans and layouts included. And in that moment, I had the thought to myself, I could make this. And so here we are. As you can see here, I am just laying out the foundation for the house first. And the initial process of building this house really wasn't that difficult. The layout is actually pretty simple as far as Sims builds goes. But that said, my main gripe with this house is that despite having so many weird architectural choices made, it's actually kind of boring. Still, there is something that immediately stood out to me while building. This house was built in a style I like to call wide by choice. It didn't need to look like this, but it seems like every architectural choice that was made to say, how can I make this look as much like Wide Putin as possible without it collapsing in on itself? For those who don't know the story of Groverhaus, basically this mod named Grover on the Something Awful forums posted a thread in 2006 detailing an addition he was planning to make on his house. So it was supposed to include a new kitchen, 2-car garage, a workshop area, 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a living room. Now the rub comes in when Grover, in his infinite wisdom, decided to complete the entire addition by himself. Now, it would be one thing if he had consulted people who knew what they were doing, but Grover's problem was a combination of hubris and laziness. There are so many issues with this house, from having 2 staggered garages right next to each other, to the insulation problems, even burning off some of his new siding by grilling right up against his house. And then, after facing some ridicule from the internet, Grover eventually removed those posts and any mention of the house, but there are still some snapshots that I'll be using to recreate this tragedy today. Another unintended problem I faced while building this house is that I wasn't making it look weird enough. Like I said before, it's a regular house, but it has some uncanny valley features thrown in. It's almost normal, but things are sometimes just slightly askew, too big, in places that don't make sense. The perfect representation of this are the windows. As a matter of fact, the windows are the moment that led me to building this house in the first place. Everyone who existed on the internet in the mid-aughts knows what window I'm talking about. I don't even need to say which one, you already know. Anyway, as I looked back at what pictures I had at my disposal, I had to readjust some things to reflect how much this was not going to look like a normal house. I needed to space out the windows to the point of it not making sense. I needed to have cars parked on the lawn instead of in one of the 2 garages that were built. I needed to use the same type of plant over and over again with no variety, things like that. It's interesting to think about how many of the iconic parts of this house were reflected in the pictures from the outside. By and large, the majority of the ones that I found on the internet showed Grover standing in a sunken-in ditch in the backyard looking lost, structural supports haphazardly thrown together in no way that can be up to code, things like that. One of my favorite parts is when Grover pushed his grill right up against the brand new siding he had just installed, and then thought the grill wouldn't melt through the plastic, so now there's just a hole there. It's at this point in the build that I start to wonder if I should really be this hard on this house. I thought about my own house and how it really isn't perfect either. The house that we're renting was probably built 50 years ago and it's starting to show the signs of age. The roof on our porch is starting to crack, our back porch looks like it's a few years from coming down entirely, most of our windows are stuck and don't work, so who am I to comment on this meme house from 2006? But then I remembered, A, this isn't our house, we're just renting it, And B, Groverhaus is the result fresh off of a new construction job that was done by somebody with little to no construction experience who decided to do it anyway and then posted those pictures online. So I'm okay with it. Right now, I'm just laying out the interior based on the layout that I found. I'll tell you how well this renovation was planned out when I based almost the entirety of the build on one unlabeled floor plan. And you'll see what I mean by that when we get upstairs later. I'm actually pretty proud of how the kitchen came out. This is one of the more fleshed out pictures I could find, and I think it cluttered up pretty nice. Now, if you're a true connoisseur of this meme and realized, hey, she didn't look at all the pictures online, the kitchen doesn't look like that, the garage doesn't look like that, it's because I forgot to look at all the pictures online, and I was already 5 hours into the planning process with this thing, so it's cool, we're just gonna roll with it. Some of you watching might remember my channel from last year when I made an almost hour-long manifesto on what The Sims 4 was missing compared to the previous games. Since then, they've made a couple of changes, including $5 kits that basically charge you for like 20 items, really niche, specifically what you want to build with. I own probably 1 or 2 of these kits to suit my building needs, but you know what I really want EA to make? The common household electronics kit. I'm talking outlets, remotes, phones, anything I can use purely as clutter for decoration. Specifically in this build, there are so many outlets. You can see next to the stairs, I had to use a little wall hanging thing I found instead, but I would actually buy that kit in a heartbeat to add a little realism to my builds. Here we're just cluttering up the rest of the kitchen. And speaking of kits, let's move on to the reason why I bought EA's $5 industrial loft kit and one of the more iconic parts of the house, the HVAC system. After doing this, I decided to take 3 weeks off before finishing the rest. The problem with this is that, like I said, this house is actually not super unusual from the front, so it blended in with a lot of the other builds. I'm not exaggerating when I say here's me looking for it for about 5 minutes. After I found it, I remembered the horror I had wrought. I have been building in this game for literal years, and this is the worst layout I've ever made. Look at this! Not only would this game's UI not let anyone walk through these weird, cramped hallways, but why would anyone set it up like this? Instead of having this, you could have, I don't know, not included 3 separate closets directly in the middle of your house. I know in real life it's probably fine, but I hate this so much. It's at this point that I decide to say, fuck it, and base the rest of the house directly off of the floor plan that I found. However, the problem was that the floor plan, of course, isn't labeled. So now you have the ping pong room. It's at this point I'm realizing it probably would have been easier to do the ventilation system after I finished furnishing and decorating the upstairs. But like I mentioned earlier, I wasn't sure what to put in this room since I was going off of an unlabeled neon pink floor plan, so I just made this into a man cave. I don't remember the full story behind the medal case, but it had something to do with Grover comparing himself to a general or something, tactician, something like that. Either way, here's a Medal of Discipline, a Medal of Supreme Bravery, Construction Engineering Award, Medal of Questioning, and of course the Tactical Genius Award for his undying feat of creating Groverhaus all by himself. The house is coming together now pretty nicely. I made all the walls beige and boring since that's all I could see from the pictures. Of course, we have the butler's pantry on the side of one of the hallway closets. I made it look like how it probably ended up looking instead of the idealized version. I also decided that their kid didn't do anything wrong, so they get the only fully furnished room besides the ones I could visibly see in pictures. Then it was on to the garage. The perks of this build is that I could just throw whatever I wanted down and make it look as messy as possible. So we get a kiddie pool, we get some cars, we get some bikes, we get some toys, whatever we wanted. The living room is also one of the only remaining pictured rooms that we have access to. All you can see are 2 stereos lying on either side of a TV set and a reclining red couch, but The Sims 4 is too modernized in that you don't really get stereo sets. Maybe I should do a series where I do Groverhaus in every iteration of The Sims, because I know I could do this room in The Sims 1. After the living room, I had the moment of, wait, I'm done, followed by needing to fix the lights so they weren't in random places everywhere. And that's pretty much it. So let's see how it turned out.
Well, this was stupid, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to subscribe if you want to, but I don't know if you would after watching this video. You can find all of my links down below in the description. I do other stuff besides just Sims builds, and thank you for watching.